Hello everyone, my name is Loco and welcome to a best of 5 series of top level StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is the finals of the Olimo League. That means that we have ourselves a Protoss versus Zerg from South Korea, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on El Dorado. I would say that this is by far my favorite map of all of the new maps so far. It's mostly because of this entire bottom section and the wall over here. It is basically Golden Wall 2.0. Now spotting right here in the bottom right hand corner, playing with the blue Protoss pieces, we have a man who's been impressing me a ton with his Protoss strategies. We're looking at none other than Hero's main Nexus. I guess we can't be all too surprised to see Hero doing really well on the new patch so far, because, well, he's the highest ranked Protoss player from Korea. And, well, he has been dominating the competition in general. This seems to be a really good patch for Protoss, so I'm excited to see how he does against our Zerg Hero. I've been casting this man more so than ever before, really. I've been looking at other replays as well, but he just seems to be popping up in every single series as of late. With the red Zerg pieces, we have none other than SHIN. SHIN's been, making some really significant steps forward. And while he does seem to be struggling a little bit in the late game of Zerg versus Protoss, he has got some killer timing attacks on the new patch, especially in the mid game. He's been doing very well with, for example, like queen drops and just hyper-aggressive mid-game strategies in general, just to try and, well, prevent the Protoss player from ever getting all the way up to that Skytle's army. It seems like in the late game, Protoss has the slight upper hand right now. Maybe a little bit more than the slight upper hand, but there are certainly a lot of attacking opportunities before that stage in the game that are now viable because of that nerf to the shield battery overcharge. It's a nerf because, well, I mean, it got removed. That's the biggest nerf anything can ever get. Alrighty, now I'm a big fan of El Dorado, so there was a map once upon a time called Golden Wall. I thought Golden Wall was a fantastic map because every single game on it was always different, right? Like when we see a game on, like, I don't know, like an Alcyone, for example, we can kind of expect how it's gonna go down, right? It's the same for like an Oceanborn. The map is relatively standard. Now, this map has all of the features for a standard game, but then it also has this entire bottom section that can change things up very, very rapidly. So the bottom section is only accessible by either flying units or I guess dropped units, or, yes, just like, thank you for the cue right here, SHIN, or if the players decide to mine out this skinny mineral wall right over here. There's a gold base over here that you can take too. A couple skinny mineral fields right over there. You can mine this out if the minerals in yellow run out too. What are we? Hero's laughing. SHIN is posting a question mark. I'm hoping we're gonna get some sort of translation. That would be nice. Not sure what SHIN is saying here. The singular Korean question mark, man. They do this all the time. Just one question mark. That's it. Anyways. What I'm saying is this map creates a lot of variety. It depends on where the players decide to expand, right? So in this particular instance, SHIN is taking that base at the bottom. That also means that he can take his gold base right over here and mine out these mineral fields as quickly as possible. But at the same time, if, well, we see Hero doing the same thing too on the other side of the map, generally Zergs like to expand away from their opponents. Yeah, they would become next door neighbors. This big sensor tower over here is also very significant. There's a couple of skinny mineral fields over here. Yeah, right now we don't see a lot of metagaming yet, but if this turns out to be the norm for every single Zerg player on this map, I can guarantee you that we're gonna see a probe running to the center of the map early on, mine out these mineral fields, the skinny ones, and then we'll start up some hyper-aggressive pushes, because right now there's really not a whole lot of knowledge for our Zerg player about anything aggressive that could be coming across. Lucky for him though, none of that is happening. Oracle number 1 has shown up. It did not get that bonus energy, but it did get 2 kills. I think it probably should have settled just for a singular one, if I'm being honest with you, but yeah, taking that much hull damage does kind of suck. Second Oracle, though, is going to be running in. Large group of Zerglings. They're checking where that third Nexus of Protoss is located. At this point, SHIN doesn't know, but he's going to find out right about right now. As long as the Adepts are in the right position, they should be okay. There's also, of course, well, now 2 oracles, soon to be 3 oracles available. So if those links really are annoying, maybe one of the oracles is going to have to activate its pulsar beam right over here. But at the very least, it's going to keep those units pinned back. At least they should be a little bit pinned back. Usually for the time being. Now, apparently Mr. Hero is not intimidated at all. He's leaving the oracles over here, but he's moving the Adepts across the map. +1 melee is coming. This is immediately going to force out a lot of additional Zergling production. Right now, economies are pretty much even. But this is going to hurt SHIN quite a bit. Yeah. I mean, it's not so much the worker losses here. It's that these adepts are very likely to buy a lot of time here. And they're very likely to get good trades against the Zerglings here regardless. Any drone is pretty much a bonus. And this is now turning into a very significant amount of losses on the side of SHIN. SHIN decided to skip the Roach Warren in favor of a fast +1 melee. And he had to pay the price. Okay. Now, blink on the back of this for Hero. He's going into the +1 ground upgrades too. And Hero is basically just playing strategies that we've always seen him play. Like, he's not really mixing things up all too much. There's a lot of players right now that are trying to reinvent the wheel, I suppose, as far as Protoss build orders go. A lot of quick, well, say for example, sentry build orders with quick hallucination scouts and all the rest of it. But Hero apparently not too concerned about the shield battery overcharge loss. Mostly just playing the same good old build orders, and he seems to be doing a very good job with it. Yeah, I think what we're seeing in effect here is a lot of that queen shenanigans, right? So the queen being a little bit more expensive, it means that there's like 1 to 2 less queens here. Doesn't sound like that big of a deal because they still seem to be everywhere, but it certainly does seem to hurt the early game defense for the Zerg player quite a bit. And that's exactly what Hero is leaning into right now. In the past, we saw him play a really cool Tempest build as well. I'm hoping we're going to see some more of that as well in this Best of 5 series. But because Zerg usually has like 1 to 2 queens less in the earlier stages of the game, Tempest builds seem to be a whole lot more, well, viable. Anyways, we are going Roach Warren here in the end. Lair is going to finish up momentarily. But in the meantime, on the other side of the map, we have +1 ground weapons together with that blink. And I think Hero is making him up, or making himself up rather, for a really large attack. He's going up to 7 gateways, which we will allow. It's even numbers or prime numbers for gateways only. Keep that in mind. Let's see how much he can do. There's a large group of Zerglings over here. Can this buy enough time? Yeah, they're gonna kill a gas. It is 5 gas, which is now spotted. That is a clear indicator that this is going to be a lot of Blink Stalker. So Zerglings are being produced. Changelings? Or changelings? Stasis wards, rather. I don't know the name of units. Okay, being triggered here. Nicely done. But so far, Hero is leaning into that eco advantage that he created for himself. Now, SHIN is trying to catch up in that department by quickly grabbing this hatchery down here. There's a large Ling run-by setup here, or a surround, it seems. A lot of stasis wards, though, using that energy on those oracles. And likely that new Nexus ability as well, to his advantage. Protoss might not have force fields, but he does have force fielded Zerglings like that. These are completely inaccessible, and this Stalker micro is excellent. These are +1 melee Lings, though, so they do hit a lot harder. But exactly to deal with that, do we have the Blink upgrade, followed by the Charge. So Charge and +1 coming up here as well in the meantime for Hero. He is ready to double down. So far, though, SHIN seems to be holding. Here's the Charge finishing. I am assuming... yeah, there's just not enough. I'm assuming we're going to see a big Zealot warp in, but that Stalker micro is excellent. It's Hero who gets a very easy-looking game number 1. Next up, we find ourselves on Amygdala. It's the map with all of the rocks. There's rocks everywhere, man. This is Dustin Browder's heaven right over here. Does anybody remember those references? I don't know. Way back in the early days of StarCraft 2, the lead game designer, I think that was his title. No, I think it was game director, actually. Basically, the lead for the StarCraft 2 project at the very beginning of it was Dustin Browder. And Dustin Browder did some of his own commentating of alpha games way back in the day. So Blizzard uploaded a bunch of YouTube videos. This was like early 2010, maybe like late 2009, where he was very excited about rocks. For some reason, he was always talking about terrible, terrible damage and rocks. The man liked rocks all over the map. Anyways, it turned into a bit of a running meme. Not sure actually what he's working on these days. Didn't Dustin Browder move to that new studio founded by Mike Morhaime? I'm not 100% sure. Anyways, one of the legendary game designers. I mean, since he was the man in charge of creating StarCraft 2, obviously it's a team effort, right? But since he was the director of the project, I would say he did a pretty good job. Anyways, so far, very normal builds once again. Hero has become, over the last couple of months, a massive fan of pylons in the wall. So the advantage of putting a pylon in the wall is that you can take your third base with just a singular gateway. So you can use the pylon as part of a wall in. Obviously, it leaves you a little bit vulnerable. But you can, yeah, take a slightly faster third base than if you don't put the pylon in the wall, because then you're pretty much required to make a second gateway before taking it. It seems a little bit risky to me. Like, what if Zerg? So I've been wondering about this, right? In the new patch. Since there is no shield battery overcharge, can Zerg just make a lot of Zerglings and kill your base? I guess with the Oracle openers, it is pretty much impossible for Zerg to pull that off as long as there is an Oracle present at home. So, even though we may have seen an attempt to see Protoss deviate from the Stargate openers, the only way that Protoss can reliably take a third base is with a Stargate build. So, yeah, even though I like the Twilight builds, I like the Robo builds, you just end up delaying your own expansion by like a minute and a half because you just need more units in order to sustain your base. It's just not as good. Versus Zerg, it just is pretty much always a Stargate build, and I don't think that's really going to change. Although we have seen quite a bit of variety as well. We've seen Hero go for Void Ray first into, like I was trying to say in the previous game, into Tempests. Not in this particular instance, just the good old Oracle. Yeah. And we should be seeing a third Nexus within about the next half minute. He wants to get the Creep Tumor. He knows the timing at which this Creep Tumor should be available. Now it's going to spread. The little mini game that the pro gamers like to play. He knew the timing at which that Creep Tumor should be moving. And it turns out SHIN also knew the timing of the Adept moving in for the Creep Tumor moving. So he decided to not move it. A little bit of StarCraft 2 rock, paper, scissors. This time around, SHIN got the advantage there. But nothing all too crazy. There's indeed that third base. So notice how that third base is with just a singular gateway. Yeah, an Oracle is going to be used defensively. Another big advantage of the Stargate build over like a Twilight Council build or a Robo Facility build, right? Is because your third Nexus is so early, you can actually match the Zerg's economy pretty well. The other builds almost require you to deal damage, and this is still a build that requires to deal at least a little bit of damage because Zerg can make a lot of drones. But you can kind of look at the worker count right now and yeah, notice the strength here of the Chrono Boost. It's not like Hero is significantly behind, and by the time that the third Nexus kicks in, you should be able to get quite a bit of that pro production underway over there too. Now this is going to be that moment where SHIN will usually pull ahead worker-wise. But damage here, not a complete necessity. I wouldn't call it a bonus either. You want to get a little bit of damage done, because otherwise Zerg can cruise ahead. But honestly, there's already quite a bit of Zergling production here. Ah, and it's because to try... Okay. Are we going to do this again, SHIN? I mean, it's one way, I guess, to get those oracles to not attack you. Make your opponent type in the in-game chat. It's a common strategy, especially in Gold League. If you're constantly insulting your opponent, right? At some point, they're going to have to say something back. How are they going to macro? Okay, it took Hero a little while. My Korean's still non-existent. So, yeah. Can't tell you what it is, but I can assume you that, yeah, somebody's gonna translate it. Right below the like button is the comment section. Hint, hint. Wink, wink. Right below the like button, there's a comment section on YouTube. And if you scroll over there, you can leave a comment, you can leave a translation. You could also click the button, for example. But there's very likely going to be a comment of somebody translating whatever the players are saying. We have a very quick fusion core. Protoss fusion core, that is. Fleet Beacon coming up. This is a 3-base build. That is curious. Generally speaking, we see this from Hero on 2 bases lately. I'm assuming this is still a Tempest build, but it could very well be for a mothership or even carriers. This is a lot of link production right now, though. Oracles are going to be fine against this number of Zerglings, but Hero is a little bit too adventurous with the positioning here, losing a bunch of those units because of that maximized surface area. Hydra then coming up. Roach Warren was skipped this time around, by the way, so skipping the Roach Warren is a little bit dangerous. So what are we making out of the fleet beacon? Like, this is a very expensive structure. 300 minerals, 200 gas. You need to justify it in some way. Okay, we're rushing a mama ship. For all intents and purposes, this is a mothership rush. We're even going +1 air attacks. So keep in mind that with the new patch, the mothership is more expensive, yes, but it can no longer be abducted, and it deals about 3 times the amount of damage that it did in the past. So the damage of the mothership is actually significant. So in the past, I wouldn't say that these upgrades really mattered. I'm actually not 100% sure how this lines up with the mothership's attacks. Not sure exactly how much DPS it gets from every single one of those upgrades, but I would imagine the beams are going to be more powerful, and there's a hell of a lot more beams than there used to be in the past. A mothership rush at the pro level. Now, I think Shin is going to get the heads up here. Did he notice that? I don't know if he saw that. Like, you could see the little animation here on the Nexus if he was paying attention right at that point in time. But judging here by the fact that he's going Lurker Den and he's going Hive, I don't think he realized it. So this mama ship will likely pop completely unscouted. Hydras, though, do have that late game buff as well, where they can get a little bit of like a, almost like a blink ability. Not quite blink. What do you do here as Hero, though? Like, why did we make a second Stargate? He didn't actually do the thing that you would expect the second Stargate to do. Like, he made a second Stargate and then didn't use it. Are we not gonna... I think we're gonna turn this into almost like an all-in. Where's Mama? There she is. Mama! Mama's trying to be sneaky. He's trying to be sneaky with a floating city. I think this is an offensive recall towards the mothership. Oh! Oh! Get juked! Hydra's on the high ground. In the meantime, though, we have that Protoss army over here. I think Hero is being a little fancy here. Like, to the point where it's a little unnecessary. We're wasting a lot of money. I think upon seeing that this is Hydra Ling, he decided, okay, I don't actually want to make use of my Stargate units. And instead I want to go into a bunch of, like, I don't know, like maybe Colossi or something along those lines. But this mothership has not done anything. Hero has just been donating a bunch of units and getting the council on that 4th Nexus and cutting 17 corners, but we're not really doing anything with it. Oh, let's see how much damage it does. It's quite significant. I mean, it's not amazing. It's really good against Zerglings and stuff. Like Zergling, Baneling, that sort of thing. I'm a bit afraid that Hero is getting a bit carried away, though, with the creativity here. Because Shin is basically opening the floodgates now. Shin basically built up 86 workers and is now ready to just hold down the Hydra Ling Lurker button. And it will be up to Hero to deal with it. Oh, this is a big one. Oh, this is going to be pretty much impossible to break. Yep, that is one of the robo facilities getting shut down. Lurker Den is followed right now with a Nidus network. We have the Mama ship recalling. That's so risky. He recalled into Lurkers? I mean, it cleaned it up, but at what cost? That actually went way better for Protoss than I thought it was going to be. He activated the cloaking field, but there were about 7 overseers there. The majority of that fight, though, went decently well there for Hero because, well, a lot of that Zerg army is concentrated at the bottom of the map. We have one bowling ball here killing a bunch of Lings, but that was still a very risky recall. Recalling into Lurkers is... yeah, I don't advise it. Mothership itself now with 8 confirmed kills. I mean, it really is a force to be reckoned with. Shin is gonna try and deal with the Mothership by making Hydras. And I have yet to really see Hydras work. Look at the Mothership, man. It's murdering stuff. Oh my god. That was actually much better than I thought it was gonna be. Nidus network here in the back of the main base. We do have that one cheeky photon cannon. I mean, a couple Hydras are gonna escape, but that's nothing. that Protoss can't deal with. I think in order to kill the Mama ship with Hydras, you need to see a significant mistake. Cute little play here, by the way. But we need to see a significant misplay from Hero. If he keeps Mama ship, like the Mama ship lingering, yeah, then I guess it can be killed. The main problem here for Hero is that his economy is just whack. It's no good. He's had this base denied, I think 3 times now, maybe twice. Anyways, this base over here has been critical. And even though SHIN has been losing most of the battles, I think he might be winning the war. Then again, he has decided that he wants to deal with the Mama ship by going Hydralisks. And I haven't seen anybody deal with the Hydra or with the Mama ship with Hydras yet. Storm is about 75% of the way done. If that upgrade finishes, it's going to be near impossible for Zerg to break this. But the Mama ship is still relatively vulnerable. God, I love how that unit is a weapon on its own now, though. Storm finishing up, couple seconds. In the meantime, we did have a little bit of a Nida shenanigans over here, too. He's gonna spoil the surprise. Storm! Oh, careful, 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 Hydras! Oh, Hydras and Lurkers are... Oh, okay, well, that's... Okay, yeah. Not microing, I guess, is one of the ways that that fight is losable. We just saved up about 7 storms and then didn't use it. Hero getting a little bit distracted. There was, of course, that Nidus worm inside of the natural expansion. I think there was a world where if you had like a couple of zealots, for example, in the natural, and he would have actually popped that Nidus worm before it ever, well, appeared, that at that point he would have focused his main army control on storming and making sure that those lurkers were not within range of the High Templar, right? And there was a world where he was going to defend that attack. But even if everything was handled perfectly there, I think it was a very difficult call for Protoss across the board, because Zerg was already up to a very substantial economy, and Hero was starting to run low on money. Like, he needed a 4th base desperately. He lost it at least twice. So I think SHIN had that one in the back, but yeah, he forced his opponent to make some pretty significant blunders. Okay. Nice game, of course, there, though, from SHIN. But it felt a little bit disjointed on Hero's end of things. Like, going for the second Stargate, but then not actually making any units out of the Stargate for like 5-6 minutes. All of that is, well, a clear indicator that he decided to change the plan halfway through, which in general at high-level StarCraft just doesn't work, man. I think everybody's experienced that, where you have a brilliant plan in the middle of a game and you decide to execute on it, and it just goes horribly wrong. Like, most of the thinking in a StarCraft match, as far as strategy goes, happens after the StarCraft match. So you try to, like, look at the replay, or you try to think about the game, and you, yeah, decide to make some changes that you might make next time around in that situation. But making adjustments to your plan in the middle of a game, it's very tricky. I think he didn't need the Robo Bay. I feel like the Robo Bay was kind of a mistake. So he decided to go Robo Facility, second Robo, and then Robo Bay. I think he should have just been making Tempest there. It would have been a cheaper transition to make when he already had those units, and I think it would have also forced SHIN to go into Aspire, because I don't think SHIN would have... Like, I think with just the Mama ship, apparently SHIN was like, yeah, I can kind of kill it with Hydras maybe, or at the very least I can ignore it most of the time. But if there were also at the same time a couple Tempest out, I think SHIN would have felt compelled to make Aspire, at which point that whole game would have slowed down. Anyways, we find ourselves on Whispers of Gold. It's going to be a sentry now pretty quickly. Okay, so this is curious. Hero slowing down his own build. So he is not going to go for a Stargate, I don't think, or a very late Stargate. So this is Stalker now into Sentry. The new Nexus ability allows you to get that quick energy on the Sentry, which allows you to get really nice hallucination scouts, just like that. And indeed, we are not going Stargate. We are going into a Twilight Council together with a Robo Facility. So we have Hero mixing things up here. We'll have to keep an eye out on exactly what flavor of Protoss this is going to be. A lot of different versions of this build are available, of course. You could go 2 base, 8 gate all in with just Zealots. You can go for, I don't know, like a Blink Stalker all-in if you want to. You can go into Dark Templar, into Archons. I think most likely, though, it's going to be Adepts. No, it's not. We're going to go into a Dark Shrine. So after rushing the Mama ship, we're now rushing Dark Templar. I've always been a fan of this build, actually. I think it's really fun. So this is 4-gate Dark Templar. And what you can do is warp in a bunch of DTs on the other side of the map and then morph them into Archons. The main downside, like I was trying to say in the previous game, is that this is going to delay the Protoss follow-up a lot. So you can actually force build this now continuously with just 1 sentry. I mean, assuming you have energy. He doesn't actually have energy on this Nexus. Ah, okay. It's fine. It's fine. He could still activate it. I've always been a big fan of this build, but the problem is your third base is going to be very late, meaning that you have to deal some sort of damage. Here goes the Prism. He sees it. That's important. Serral would have had a Zergling here. I can guarantee it. Serral's very good with that sort of thing. So immediately Shin decides to fire up a bunch of Spore Crawlers. Spore Crawlers, besides of course being good against flying units, are also detectors. So invisible units can be spotted. Keep in mind that the Spore Crawler actually now has a 100 less HP, meaning that maybe these invisible men jumping onto a Spore Crawler is actually a viable build. I mean, if they get a whiff of the Spore, I think they kill it pretty much immediately. Yeah, I don't like this. No. Little bit suboptimal. I don't like, that's the problem with this build, right? So you just have such a late Nexus. Nexus now goes down about 1 minute and 20 seconds later than the ones that we've seen in game number 1 and 2. And what have we really done? I mean, we're killing Zerglings. That's nice. We're gonna go into, okay, couple Dark Templar and then I guess Archons on the back of this. That's all nice too. This is useless here, Shin. Why are we fighting? Yeah, we're donating Zerglings. I don't know. I don't know why we did that. Anyways, I guess it bought a small bit of time for some of those roaches to come out. Ah, okay. Nice control. It's critical to keep the Archons and the Dark Templar alive. The Adepts don't really matter. I don't know if they realize that. That was still well managed there by Hero. Good control. But yeah, is this really that good of a build? It's nice to see a bit of variety, but I still kind of feel like you put yourself behind when you don't open with a good old Stargate. Hallucinated Phoenix is going to be heading across the map. Lair coming up right now here for Shin. Shin can't really go for any attacks right now until he gets mobile detection out. So Shin has been going for a lot of like hatchery-based timing pushes. Queen Marches, Roach Ravager, Zergling pushes, like that sort of thing. And one of the big advantages of opening Dark Templar is that not only can you use the Dark Templar offensively, you can also use them defensively. Zerg, of course, has mobile detection, but only when you get to Lair Tech. So I guess that's one of the big advantages of opening DTs. It does kind of force the game to go like bare minimum 8 minutes or so. Okay. We're hunting queens. Careful though. That prism is very precious. We have a couple Adepts over here in the bottom. A couple Dark Templar as well coming in from the side. Will they be able to get the kill? I don't think so. Okay, well, they're gonna try and see if they can get it done. But already do we have that lair. And apparently the first gas expenditure at Lair Tech is a Spire. So Shin thinking about going for some Mutalisks, it seems. The follow-up here from Hero is into the Blink. So he will be going into Stalkers. Stalkers are, of course, excellent when it comes to flying units. Or dealing with said flying units. This seems to be Shin going for Mutaling Bane. Which... yeah, I don't hate it. But I think this is what the kids would call mid. For real, for real. No cap. On God. Like, this is... I mean, we're not even really... I think he may be just trying to make a couple of units to get rid of that prism. Maybe that's the plan, because he just wasted all of his gas on Ravagers. Either that or he felt like he needed it against this faked push right here from Hero. Hero's not really going for a big attack. But the problem here, Shin doesn't know. Hero, no, not again. sleeping on the job, donates a free Immortal, or at the very least it's recalling a bunch of the units. Immortal is certainly not gonna survive that ordeal, though. Protosses don't have doors. Why do they not have doors? And yeah, now SHIN is thinking, yo, okay, if you decide to go all the way back home, turns out the best offense is the defense? Wait, no. The best defense is the offense. Now that that Protoss army has been pushed away, now it's a chance to try and make those mutas work. So the mutas will likely sneak around the left side of the map. See if they can maybe jump into the main base. Hero, though, already preparing a photon cannon. He is significantly behind in the supply count right now, though. So SHIN doing a phenomenal job, like building up that eco. Maybe he's been slowed down a little bit, but not to a point where Hero is just going to be able to, well, run away with the advantage. The problem here is that SHIN is going for a relatively low-tier unit composition. So rather than teching up, he decided to tech sideways into Banelings. These mutas have to be justified. This is effectively 900 minerals, 900 gas. Or as Protoss players like to call it, like 2.5 motherships. Right? Like it's a significant chunk of resources in the mutas and the Spire. And it didn't really do anything. Hero will gladly lose 6 probes against this sort of shenanigans. Okay. Colossus coming up. Infestation Pit is building. I think we are going to be seeing a transition towards Hive. Vipers would be a really nice addition. Oh. They can survive that. Oh. Banelings? Banelings? Where are the Banelings going to connect, though? Do you want to... I don't think you want the Banelings to connect anywhere here. They're good against, like, clumped up units like Zealots and maybe High Templar, but SHIN just trying to get whatever he can. I don't like the Banelings there very much. He had a Banelings over here. Okay. Apparently we had a bit of a Baneling roll-by right over here as well, over at the 3rd base. So while this fight is going on, a couple of Banelings are coming out from the right side of the map. They have a very long journey that they completed. And that I do like. But I feel like the majority of the Banelings here at the main engagement, they didn't really achieve all too much. Okay, now it's up to Hero to maybe try and be the aggressor for a little bit. Colossus coming up. I think it's about time we stop Colossus production. Disruptors would be a lot more useful. Ooh, a lot of Banelings there actually deciding to blow up on a group of Stalkers, which is incredibly suboptimal. Yeah, resources lost now, heavily in favor here of the Protoss player. Zerg has lost way more. Then again, SHIN has also been mining a little bit more. Yeah, and that does add up over time. That's exactly why this Nexus is so important over here and why those probe counts need to be protected. Losing the Prism also does slow everything down a bit, so... Hero's gonna have to be the defensive player here for at least a little while. He can threaten on the other side of the map, but I don't think he can really commit. SHIN going into an Ultralisk Cavern. Keep in mind that in the new multiplayer balance patch, the Ultra can actually push units around. So, I would imagine with the Vipers, the main target is abducting Immortals. Like, any Immortals that are there, yeah, they need to be abducted. They're a little bit difficult to pick out, though. The Colossi are really not that important here. Although it's still nice to get them too. But in a big engagement, it's the Disruptors that are really dangerous as well as the Immortals. You need to be a very precise fisherman. A lot of Zergling moving around the map. Colossi, though, will be roasting Lings over here for breakfast. My god, Hero just barely getting the warp in time. How about we don't use the all army hotkey and we just, like, leave a unit on hold position, Hero? I mean, I don't want to be a jerk about it, but my god. Can we just... No, we can't do that. Hero is known as an avid user of the all army hotkey. He loves that hotkey. It's one of his favorites. Hero actually hotkeys his units very strangely for a pro gamer. Like, he uses different hotkeys every single time. So usually he has 2 hotkeys for his army, and it changes every game. Essentially, whatever units he has used most recently, those are on the hotkey, and the rest is being used with the all army hotkey. So there's a good chance that these stalkers right now on our control group, but then nothing over here on the left side is, which is what is resulting in problems like this. Yeah. Anyways, he's been playing like that for as long as I know. So he's been very successful playing that way, but it always feels a little bit suboptimal. Okay, here we go. Vipers coming in. Yoink. Oh. Yoink. Okay. That's that new disruptor. Only dealing 100 damage now, causing a lot of those roaches and ravagers to survive one of the hits. 14 probes going down. Banelings also destroying a mineral line over here on the left. And Hero has just been... Well, I think his hand has just been forced because his economy just got destroyed. His army, though, is looking mighty fine. Is there enough for SHIN to push this away? I don't know. There's Ultralists coming, but Ultralists get torn apart by Immortals, especially when they don't have armor upgrades. They only have +1 carapace, which I think is a trait that Hero will be quite happy with. There are some Roaches and Ravagers trying to go in for the counterattack in the meantime, but the 3rd base of Zerg has already been killed, or the 4th base right over here. Banelings, oh, get cancelled. And there's the Ultralisk. I mean, the Ultra will just die to Stalkers alone. Normally, Immortals are the main target, but honestly, if you don't have the armor upgrades done on the Ultras, Stalkers will kill them, Zealots will kill them, and that's exactly what happened here. Despite losing all of his economy at home, Hero made the right call. He decided to go across the map, and he gets the job done. Next up, we find ourselves on Ley Lines. Now, there was a little bit of drama about this particular map on the StarCraft 2 subreddit, if I'm not mistaken, where if Zerg decides to open up 15 hatch, their hatchery can still get blocked because the rush distance is so quick. Now, it looks like SHIN is not even going for that. I believe it was this map. There's one of the maps anyways where apparently a 15 hatch is still blockable. Hero, though, is just gonna set up shop right over here. SHIN not bothering with any of that super fast expending. Instead, we're gonna go for what seems to be a 16 hatch. Keep in mind that the Nexus, or Fleet Beacons, Fusion Cores, the Zerg Nexus over here is now 275 minerals. Can't really block that very easily. SHIN's saying, ha 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 ha, or Hero is saying, I don't know what SHIN is saying. Nobody knows what SHIN is saying. I like how these guys are always using the early game as an opportunity to have a little bit of a conversation. When you have 400 APM, you have 400 APM at every point in the game, right? Okay, and next is coming up. That one is still 400 minerals. Very chunky unit. Cybercore on the back of this. This time around, by the way, Hero not opting to put a pylon on the wall off. Yeah, the consistency is not there, eh? This is pro gaming in a nutshell, though. Hero pretty much always puts the pylon as part of his wall off. He's been doing that for quite a long time now, but apparently now we're no longer gonna do it. Okay. Overlord. We'll try and see if it can sneak into the main base. Generally speaking, whatever tech Protoss goes for is attached to the 2nd pylon, which is what this thing is right over here. Cybercore is done. 150 gas. It's a Stargate. It's a Stargate, Lester. Bigger type of Protoss. Should just be a good old Oracle build, but let's see. Okay. Pylon is gonna block that natural expansion. I don't think this is worth it, but he didn't know where those Zerglings were located. Hero's gonna... Hero, why are you being a jerk, man? What are we doing right now? He wants to get the Adept in. So if the Adept comes in here and actually blocks this before the drone turns into a hatch, life is a little bit annoying. Yeah, ultimately the Adept decided to run to the 3rd base and the hatchery gets made. This is a classic situation of Protoss just being a jerk for no apparent reason. Yeah. Protoss players are bullies. That's what I've learned. This is a Zerg player just trying to, like, build up a nice little swarm and making some insects and stuff. Just having a good time, and every time the man tries to go and do something, the Protoss decides to be mean. SHIN's strategy in this game was actually to win through diplomacy alone. But it started right at the very beginning with that worker going across, blocking the expansion. So diplomacy is no longer an option. Alright. Hero swooping in right now with the Oracle. Oh. Spore Crawler never started here. He made a Spore Crawler, but it didn't begin. Ooh, 3 drones is really quite good. I think that's about the best case scenario. And in the meantime, we have that third Nexus coming up. So notice here, third Nexus is a little bit later because he decided he needed to make a second gateway here to complete that wall off. Not sure exactly what the difference is here for Hero. He's going to be able to produce a few more Adepts if he wants to. So maybe that's the plan. Try to see if he can justify the 10-15 second delay or so. So far, you know what? This Oracle harassment is doing pretty good. 6 workers at this point in the game is really solid. Maybe that's also why I decided to be so specific about trying to delay that third base of the Zerg. Because he had to delay his own third base for a little bit, so... You know, if I can't have it, you can't have it either. It does fit the playstyle of being rude so far. Now, all jokes aside, this is really well controlled here by Hero so far. He's going Twilight Council, no forts yet. We'll have to keep an eye out. There it is. We'll have to keep an eye out on when he plants it down. But there it is. Here go the Adepts. So this is the advantage of opening up with the double gate. You get the Adepts roaming the map right now, and they don't get spotted until right about right now. That Adept shade is coming in from about, 2 miles away. So, takes a while. Yeah, okay, well now we have Adepts. Yeah, now we have a couple Adepts. Yeah. So the problem with Adepts is that they're kind of mediocre. Well, unless you manage to find an unprotected mineral line here regardless. Hero, okay, getting a little bit lucky here. Kills whatever drones he can get and then decides to go back home. Nicely done. In the meantime, Oracles find the new base up north. I feel like this was one of... Oh, no cancel. Wow. This was one of those situations where everything was starting to fall apart a little bit for Hero, but then apparently he managed to save the House of Cards, you know? Now, I've tried to build many houses made out of cards when I was a kid. And generally when it starts tumbling down, there's no saving it anymore. But Hero managed to still get a bunch of damage done and then even got a kill on a 4th hatch. About the best case scenario right there for the Protoss. Hydra Den on the back of this. We have Roach Warrens here upgrading too, so... Yeah, I guess we're gonna go good old Roach Hydra? Not a bad idea, honestly. Roach Hydra was a very popular unit comp in the early days. Now that the Disruptor doesn't deal as much damage anymore, I wonder if it's a viable build. Infestation Pit coming up. Hero is always so aggressive, though. It's lovely to see. These are really sketchy attacks right here from the Protoss. Like, you never really know how much Zerg there truly is out there. And to be able to move around the map right now means that, well, first off, you commit your units on the other side of the map, which is risky. But you also kind of leave a lot of your base unprotected. So, yeah, you could lose a bunch of stuff here at home. Luckily here for our Protoss, he knows exactly what to expect. Shindo decides to once more go for the Nidus network. It worked really well in the game that he won so far in this series. And we're gonna go Swarm Hosts. Woo, okay. I've been thinking about Swarm Host a bunch as of late. I think about StarCraft. That's basically all I think about. Like, if you see me sitting somewhere, the odds of me thinking about StarCraft are pretty high. Anyways, since a lot of Zerg players are desperately trying to avoid late game right now against Protoss, or at the very least that seems to be what they're not enjoying as much on the new patch, I've been wondering about Swarm Hosts, because Swarm Hosts are very good at, well, continuing the mid game. They just continue the mid game until the mid game ends the game. The mid game is not really like a time, right? It's not like at the 12-minute mark, the mid game always ends. That's not really how it works. It's really tricky for Protoss to do anything other than, well, make basic units against this sort of stuff. And you can't really make a transition towards, like, carriers very easily. Let's see. This first wave is so critical for the momentum. He's targeting the Nexus itself. That is an ambitious play and a half. Probes get stormed, but he does not care. The Nexus has been softened up, but that was a big commitment there for SHIN that did not pay off. He still has a large army, though. Oracle's up in the air, getting even more damage in. This is one of those situations where I think we should see like 4 or 5 Oracles. Oracles are actually super good here. I wonder if a Void Ray transition here is even viable. Because essentially what Hero is now going to be doing is playing Swarmhost Whack-A-Mole, right? Like, he needs to knock down all of these Nidus Worms and prevent them from dealing damage. And there's really no anti-air here in that force of SHIN at all. Now, here's the probes once more forced to run, and I think this time around the Nexus is going to pay the price. Assuming we target it down, there's a lot of engagements here up north as well, though. And this is one of the downsides of playing Swarmhost. You just don't have that large of a standing army. So despite the fact that SHIN's unit composition here is looking strong, and he's got a lot of supply, he doesn't have that many units. In the meantime, though, the third Nexus was finished off. Those Locusts have all disappeared, but it looks like Hero at the very least will be able to get the kill on the fourth. Lurker Den is also located over here, so that is something to keep in mind. The transition here from the Zerg player is to go into Lurkers, but you do need a Lurker Den for it. Swarmhost using the network to go back home. And I think they're going to be able to push this army back for at least the foreseeable seconds. He's going to try. Oh, what? Whoa! Giant black square! I guess this little doodad over here bucked out or something. I don't know what that was. Anyways. That Protoss army does get pushed back here. Okay. Much like what we had in the previous game, SHIN has done a lot of economical damage, but he's forced Hero, because of it, to go for an all-in. And Hero is saying, yo, you're making me use all of my power to fight you on your own home turf? That's exactly where I like fighting you. How did you know? Hero always seems to be so good in these clutch situations, and that's exactly what he's doing right here, too. Some really solid Stalker micro. Maybe the DPS right there of those Locusts is high, but wow. I don't think a single Stalker actually died in those final couple minutes here. Phenomenal control by Hero. He obtains the victory in the series 3-1 over SHIN.